Hello everyone, I am Plankera. Today I'm going to continue rigging Shalom from Path to Nowhere. So, hair's getting there, almost done. Just see a few little things I wanted to correct around the claw area, as I'm calling it. I don't know, it just looks like little crab pincers to me. But I do think that this area is just about done. And then I can just do this last clump and I can do the strands! Because hair is never done. I will never be free from hair. That's okay. It does look nice, and I do like it. So it makes it worth it in the end. Alright. Let's tuck that in there a little bit more. I'm pretty sure I'm going to need to change the shape of that just a little bit there, but I thought it was sticking out a little bit too much there. Made it a little bit too round. But I couldn't really see it yesterday, because I do like round things, and I've been working for quite a while at that point. So my eyes just got a little bit fatigued, and it was time to look away for a while and revisit it in the morning. But now my eyes are fresh, and ready for another day of making cool things. Okay. So how's that? Is that doing better? I think so. Yeah, and it's even having the kind of 3D depth effect that I wanted with this area around here. Where it kind of looks like it's turning over there. I think that looks really nice. Okay. I mean, I remember seeing a little bit of shenanigans down here. So let's get all of that looking right. No, not that one. Okay. There. Can never remember where these layers are, man. There's so many of them, and I can only see the front of the name. But I like to have them similar in name in the front over here, so that this way when I need to look through them through this alphabetized list over here, I can find them more easily, and they'll all be grouped together. So it's a tough choice to figure out how to name things. But this is the method that I have found works best for me personally. No, that didn't do what I was hoping for. Okay. I'm gonna have to go in there and do some hardcore staring. See if I can figure out what's going on here. So far, I do see a little bit of shifting upward, and I probably just made it a little bit too chunky down here. So I'll make it a bit thinner. Okay, maybe we don't have to be that hardcore in the staring, because I think that covered about, I don't know, 75% of it. I think this strand needs to go a little bit further this way. Kind of straighten some things out over here. And then I'll take another look. A lot of this process really is just make a few changes, then go see if it actually looks alright. It's getting there. This side got a little bit low somehow, so let me go send him back upward. Now I'm looking at this strand here. I'm debating if I like the way it looks right now. I guess it's alright. I don't think I'll be able to get it that much better, just because this whole... it makes things complicated. So yeah, I think that's okay. Alright, so let's zoom out. Take a look now. Did I get all the parts that were bothering me? I did. Okay. So indeed, there wasn't that much left to fix. So now, I can tackle all this. Okay, can I get rid of those strands? Yes, I can get rid of that one at least. Where's the other one? Okay, yeah, I can hide those for the time being, so I can really focus in and getting this looking correct. I'm gonna start at the top. Because that's the way I like to handle things. Start at the top, and then slowly make my way down to the bottom. Because once I know the top is looking good, I can trust that everything that I alter relative to the top will also look good. Or at least, it increases the odds that if it looks good there, it is actually correct. Okay, so I'm just kind of looking back and forth here to see what areas are not quite right here. So the first thing I'm seeing is that in the front view, this top area goes underneath the bang here. So I think I want to keep it like that. So that means I need to make this a little bit higher. Let's do that real quick. Oh, that's claw. That must be you. Okay. There's less layers over here, so hopefully I'll be able to remember where they are in my layer stack. Okay. Yeah, so now I have that area underneath. And now I think I want this highlight. Okay, I'm not gonna be able to do it like that. I'll have to do it like this, but I want this highlight a little further down. Go straighten things out a little bit. Just straighten things out a little bit. Looking a little bit messy there, but I'll fix it in a little bit. Yeah, definitely messy. Actually, I'm gonna go a little further back. I think I'm gonna undo a lot of that. Okay, that one can stay. Okay, so I'm gonna go back here. And then adjust it the way I want. Because I was just noticing that I feel like this highlight should be a little bit further down. But probably not as far down as I was making it out to be. Just I have the strand going further back. It kind of lines up with right about there. Whereas now it lines up kind of more with how it turns here. So it should probably be a little bit further this way. Before I do that, I was also noticing that this area needs to be a little bit higher. Okay. But now I can go and adjust this highlight to get it to where I want it to be. There we go. Okay, so let's do something like that. See how it looks. I'll have to do some adjustments to the overall shape of everything, but I think that location for the highlight works pretty well. Do need to pull down this side, but that's okay. Nothing too difficult here, and then I know that I needed to adjust this inside area. It was kind of squirming around a bit. Now I'm trying to see how it needs to be adjusted. Okay, looks like I sent this part up a little bit too high. So let's bring that on down. Let's bring it on down a little bit. And then I do see a lot of shifting kind of downward, which makes sense. Since I did just move a whole bunch of vertices downward. Okay, now it looks like it's shifting upward a bit. So I just overdid it a little. Just bring this down here a little bit. Very gently, very carefully. It's like, look, I already overdid it once. I don't want to do it again. It's just so easy to overdo it, you know? So, still see a little bit of shifting in various places. So I'm gonna try to move things around. So that this way it hopefully shifts a bit less. Let's see what happens. I do feel like I'm getting somewhere here. Very much so, in fact. So let's keep making those fine little adjustments. And try to get this part into the right area, because I do feel like this highlight and the areas around it are probably the first step into really nailing how this clump of hair is going to work. It's like I remember working a little bit on the tips, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get them right until I get everything up here right. Because everything is relative. When it comes down to it, let's just take something simple, like the head. If I didn't have the edge of a face, I could move the eyes wherever I want, and they would look correct. Would not matter how they were moving. Your brain would fill in the rest. But because I have a head and a nose and a mouth, then I can no longer move them anywhere I want. I have to pay attention to where they are relative to the nose and the mouth. And that is true for pretty much everything in rigging. Everything is just a comparison to where everything else is. So if there was nothing else, you could do whatever you wanted. But since your model presumably is not just a floating eyeball. Although with what I've seen in VTubers, I could absolutely believe that someone's model is a floating eyeball. But in general, as long as there's other stuff, everything is relative. You just gotta pay attention to where it is relative to everything else. So right now my point of comparison is this bang. And to a lesser extent, this bang. Nope, not the claw. There we go. And so I'm just trying to figure out where everything should go based on the things around it. That's kind of what causes sliding, of when something is not moving the same way everything else around it is. It kind of looks like it's just sliding away. And it looks very strange. Avoid it if you can. Okay, so I felt like parts of it were a little bit too low, which is why I did a big shift upwards. But now I feel like certain parts are a little bit too high. But it's much closer than it was before, so my effects are working. Or I guess I should say my efforts are working. It's getting there. Just trying to update both these sides together. Because when I lifted this up, it just made it a little bit fatter. Now I'm having to make it a bit thinner again. Preserve the roundness in that bottom part. And you can see, gradually, as I continue to work on this, I'm getting lower and lower on the strand. I'm no longer paying attention up here. Up here, I feel like is mostly correct. It's like I do look at it to verify. But at the very least, it's not bothering me anymore. So that's a sign that I can work a little bit further down now. And I'll just keep going like that. Until everything is correct. That's kind of how I do things. Although sometimes I do move around, maybe a little bit randomly. That's okay, it works out for me sometimes. Most of the time. Most of the time, I'd say. Sometimes I do just need to, like, cleanse my eyes a little bit and stop them from staring in one place for too long. So I just work on a different spot for a little while and then come back to this. But my eyes are nice and fresh and still doing well. So I think I'm doing fine on this strand for the time being. I just noticed a whole bunch of shifting upward. So I'm trying to pull the vertices back down a little bit. Next time I see a good example, I'll try to explain more clearly what I mean by shifting upward. Or shifting downward, or whatever else I happen to see. So one thing that's important to do when doing this is to try to preserve a lot of the angles that exist in the other views, unless you're like deliberately changing them for perspective reasons. So you can see here, this kind of comes out here, and then it's very straight. It's like a very sharp angle right here. Whereas right here, that sharp angle is like pretty much gone. So I'm going to try to put that sharp angle back in. Doing something like this. Should also fix the angle on this highlight. So this is still pretty crunchy. But I kind of want to see if I'm on the right track. Like, does this look better than it did before? Overall, I'd say yes. I just need to, you know, make it better. This was just the first step. I think the bump was actually closer to right here. I'm gonna have this vertex be the bump instead of this one. It's okay. Sometimes when I see those various structures, sometimes I just put them in the wrong place. And then I just need to move things around a little bit. It's no big deal. See, it's already kind of working itself out. How about now? Is it in a good spot now? No, I actually think the other one was better. Okay. Let's back it up then. Okay, nope, that's too far back. I think. I don't know. Art is hard sometimes. Okay. Okay, that must be the point I'm thinking of here. But no, I do think that this vertex did it better. So you can see there, I tried something, and it didn't work out the way I was hoping. So now I know that that was not the right way to do things, so I can just kind of undo it and go back to where I was before and try something else. So what I saw there was that the sharp angle here was too low. So I thought, oh, let's use a higher vertex, but no. I had the right vertex. I just needed to move it into a better spot. And here now it's a bit too high. And so you can use important landmarks like this to kind of figure out where everything should go. Still lots of stuff squirming around, but that's to be expected. I'm not done yet. I just saw this big old landmark, so I kind of jumped ahead and decided that now was a good time to figure out where that landmark should be. And so it's going to take a little bit of time to kind of get all that into the right place. So I guess this is a good spot to show what I mean by kind of shifting upward. If you look at this line here, at the front here, you can look carefully at this line here, and you'll notice that it's going to get both thinner, and it's going to look like it's moving further up the strand. See? Just looks like it's kind of moving up the strand. So that's what I mean when something is shifting upward or downward. When I'm talking about hair, typically when I say up, I mean it's moving up the strand. And when I say down, it's moving down the strand. For other body parts, I might mean it a little bit differently, but that's the gist of it. That's the gist of it. And those are just the little details that I look for whenever I'm doing this, of just getting everything into the right place. Like if it looks like something is sliding or shifting weirdly, then I know that I have to move it a bit. And you can see there's still a lot shifting kind of weirdly around here. And it's not that big a deal. Because it just means that I've got a little bit more work to do. And considering I just started, that is not surprising in the slightest. I'll just keep poking at it. And then I'm trying to do something interesting with this highlight here. You can see it's shaped like this here. But with the way I'm turning it here, I'm trying to make it a little bit thicker, and this part a little bit thinner. To kind of show that it's turning a little bit, so we see more of that highlight that was on the right side here. That's the idea. And if done right, it won't look like it's sliding, it'll just look like the proportions are changing relative to everything else around it. And that will look fine. And that is what riggers often call 3D effect. This is a very, very simple version of it. People can do some seriously incredible things. People much more skilled than I am. I especially see this with, like, clothing or, you know, sometimes hair, but clothing and accessories is where I see it the most, and some of what they can do is, very nice. I can think of some, like, hair accessories where they move the side of it. So if you think of, I guess I'll compare it to a cookie. So it's thin and flat, but you can clearly see that it has a distinct front, back, and then there's that thinner area, the depth. And with the way they cut it, they can change that depth based on where everything is turning, and it looks really cool when it's done right. Some of those small details aren't the kinds of things that you notice, but I've also found that a lot of these small details, even if you don't consciously notice them, you unconsciously notice them. I think that's, from what I've read about animation in general, that seems to be how a lot of animation works. Of just very, very tiny details adding up, and you may not consciously notice them, but you feel it. You feel it with your eyes. You feel it with your heart. You can tell it's there. And if it wasn't there, you'd notice the difference. I see this with a lot of children's media that my kids watch, where some of the lower quality stuff is very lazy. You can feel the difference, even if some of the art style is very simple. Like, I don't get the same kind of laziness feel from something like Bluey, even though the art style is very simple, that I do from a lot of the stuff on YouTube, where it is very much just like they're doing basic transformations on things to make them move. The kind of thing that even I can do in like 10 minutes, even though I don't have much animation experience at all. That's why I say, even if it's simple, you can feel it. You can feel it in your heart. I think that's why sometimes it can be hard to really identify what makes certain animations better than others, unless you do some animation yourself. Because it's noticeable, but not in a way that you consciously see it. It's very interesting. Art is just a very interesting field, and all its little subfields. Just trying to understand the way humans perceive things, and how to convey messages, and how to make people understand what you're trying to say, whether that be through whatever medium you choose. It's like we got visual arts, we got writing, we've got performing arts and plays, and all of these things. But most of them really are just about conveying ideas in ways that people can understand. And I think it's cool. People are pretty interesting. We give them a bad rap, but I do think people are pretty interesting. Brains are pretty interesting. No matter how much I make fun of them, they are pretty interesting. That's because they're kind of funny. Just makes it more interesting. Still feel like this is a little bit too high. So I'll slide him on down. Just still seeking out the right place for that spot to go. Surprisingly tricky. This is one of those days where I do feel like I'm making progress, but it's a bit slow. And figuring out where all these vertices want to live. Bit tricky. Being very finicky and picky. It's alright, they can be as picky as they want. I'll help them out. Oh yeah, and you know, speaking of stories, I got around to playing the new Path to Nowhere event yesterday. And it was pretty good. I liked it. It took a little while to get good, but I think that's just how I feel about a lot of Path to Nowhere writing. Because I want to spend time letting their new waifu be cute before they get into a lot of the meat of the story. And Hestia is okay. But the end sold me hard, and I'm really looking forward to the next Eternal Nightmare expansion now. I want to see where the story goes. It always gives you just enough of a little nugget to just not feel like it's teasing you, but at the same time, just make you very curious about what's going to happen next. Trying to avoid too many spoilers here, or any spoilers, for that matter. But it was pretty good. That's what I can say. It had a very interesting take on its theme there. There's been plenty of stories that just tell you, oh yes, you should be brave. But they don't really tell you the consequences of that. This is the first time that I've seen a story in this genre actually be like, you know, fear is healthy sometimes. Your brain's a bro, it's trying to help you out. And if you go and ignore it, that's not always a good thing. Yeah, Path to Nowhere has a lot of interesting takes on ideas like that. Even certain events that I thought would be kind of mid otherwise just ended up really grabbing me because they just do something kind of interesting. The one that immediately comes to mind for me is Eve's, where it just wanted to do, you know, fairly straightforward horror theme with people turning into toys. It's been done before, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, but the end, man. Where it actually goes into just how little we talk to children about the world. And we just lie to them so the world can seem happier than it is. It was really twisted. It was really good. And I never see people talk about that. This is why I keep playing this game. The gameplay hasn't really gone in a direction that I enjoy too much. It's a bit too focused on DPS checks. And stuff like that. Or at least... Or maybe I'm just playing it wrong, but that's been kind of my impression. Especially since that there's always... In nearly every event, there's always just the go fight the boss again and try to do as much damage as possible while it has, like, infinite HP. And that doesn't really grip me very much, but... The writing always does something special. So, I'll keep playing it for the foreseeable future. Hence, why I'm spending all this time just very carefully working on this model of a character from that game. It's like, man. Even some of the events that I consider just kind of okay tend to have something in them that kind of manages to hit me right. So it's a good time. If you can tolerate gacha and are more interested in story than gameplay, I can recommend it. But even gameplay-wise, I'd say it's better than probably 99% of gacha games out there. It's just when I compare it to, you know, games in general, just outside of gacha. I'd say gameplay-wise, it's only okay. If you feel like gacha is a genre, then yeah, go play it, because it's gameplay-wise, it's just so much better than pretty much anything I've seen. Okay. And through all of that rambling, I feel like I'm getting somewhere. I'm not sure if my effect here is working very well, though. It might be for other reasons. I'm gonna try to correct some of the other problems that I see before I go too deep into fixing that. Because it does feel like this area through here is a little bit too thick. So, let's see, what I was seeing there, I think, was this is actually incredibly flat. Whereas, I think I had turned it a little bit too much before. So let's revisit over here again. So I still see a little bit of squirming over there. This strand, more than really any of the other ones, looks like it's sitting on her shoulder, so I'm kind of okay with the fact that it's not moving nearly as much as the others. We'll see if it still looks good when I put in body movement. I might need to make some adjustments to compensate for that. But I will worry about that when the time comes. For now, I just kind of want to get things going here. And I'm pretty sure that this is going to look okay when the time comes there, too. It's pretty normal for me to want to make some amount of adjustments as I change everything. Or, not change everything, as I work on other parts. So as I said before, everything is relative. So it makes sense that once a shoulder changes or something like that, that the hair resting on it might also need to change a little bit. And then I might see something different that I didn't see before. And that is totally fine. No reason to be afraid of it. Okay, no, I think this area right here is still looking okay. I kind of like the way it's twisting a little bit. Showing just a little bit more of that highlight. Okay. I do feel like it's a little bit lumpy through here though, so I'm gonna go try to smooth that on out. Try to make that look nice. Okay, how is this? Do I like this? 90% of the way there, I think. I just see a little bit of weirdness right there. Let's try to make that look nice too. Everything should look nice. Don't want to leave any of these little lines out. Okay, and then I see a little bit of distortion right through there. Well, I guess it's not distortion, it's just squirming. It's just wrong, you know? Not in the right place at all. I want all these places to be able to go into the right place. And they'll slide it on down. So I felt like it was shifting a little bit. And then I also kind of wanted to fix this shadow right through here. I think it's mostly okay. There's just a couple of places. Oh, hello there, Johnny. How are you doing today? And yes, I am just gradually trying to get everything to go to the right place here. It's not always cooperating with me, but so far today's been going pretty well. I just went through down this entire strand without even realizing it. Well, I just rambled a bunch of other things. Just doing a bunch of fine adjustments here to get everything to go where it needs to be. Because once everything starts moving, you start noticing these little distortions much more than when the illustration is static. Alright, so it looks like I mostly just have these little tips here, and then this highlight, which I guess is technically part of the little tips here. I might end up having to do the tips first, just because they're really very much not the right place. And... oh shoot. That... oops. Okay, yeah, we should be good there. I accidentally, adjusted things here. Let me actually make sure all of that... okay. Let's keep the inappropriate jokes to a minimum, please. Sorry, man. Can't say I'm super into that kind of humor. Right now, I'm just trying to make some cool stuff. Alright. I'm just trying to get this hair to curl correctly. Fortunately, it looks like I meshed it pretty okay, so thank you to my past self for taking the time to make pretty okay meshes. Yeah, it's a pretty decent game. I've been having a good time with it. I think I started playing a couple of weeks after launch. So I've been there for quite a while. I do recommend it to anyone that enjoys gacha, and I think it's pretty okay if you just enjoy tower defense and can tolerate gacha. Let's see, these tips are still not quite doing what I want them to do. Okay, yeah, there we go. I think that's pretty good for the bottom one here. The top one still needs to be tweaked quite a bit. I'm trying to take a look at the bottom one there and try not to let the top one distract me too much. But that's pretty hard because it's squirming pretty badly. It can be hard to ignore when it's squirming that much. It's okay. I can get it to where it belongs here. So you're saying that you play Path to Nowhere, right? Did you play the new event yet? I just played it yesterday and was talking about it for a little while. I thought it was pretty good. It was a little bit slow in the story-wise in the beginning for me, but that's pretty common for Path to Nowhere for me. Just because they like to have a bit of time to let their new character be cute. Okay. I'm not quite sure what I have to do for the strand, though. Yeah, I'm still not quite sure how to feel about Eternal Nightmare, but I was more talking about the story, because I'm very much in Path to Nowhere for a lot of the story stuff. The gameplay has kind of taken a direction that I don't like quite as much. Mostly focused on DPS optimization, or at least that's the way it feels to me. But writing, still quite good. I enjoyed a lot. Okay, I think I'm getting closer on those tips there. Ah, I see. Yeah, this was the first one they voice acted. So that was actually pretty nice too. The voice acting in the game has been pretty good, I think. Estia's voice actor definitely delivered her lines quite well. Okay. Oh, that's very close. It's amazing how just a few centimeters difference can change things here. Okay, so if I can figure out what the heck is going on with the very tip of that tip there, I think I'll be able to get it. Okay, I have some ideas. Time to try some stuff, see what happens. How about that? How did that do? I do think that's closer, but it's still not quite right. So let's try maybe something like that. At this point, I'm just going to be pulling vertices and seeing what happens. Because I'm not quite sure what to expect here. Okay, I think that's actually pretty good. No, not that one. My hand just keeps wanting to pick the wrong layer. Keeps happening. I can never seem to make it stop. Okay, I think that's probably good enough. Let's take a look at this highlight again now. Because now this is no longer squirming like crazy and distracting me. Okay, so I did move some other areas around, so I'm a little bit concerned. Okay, no, that seemed to have done pretty well there. So I'm looking at kind of the shadow and light area over here by this highlight. And I do feel like it's kind of being squished downwards. It needs to be rounder. And I'm all for making things rounder. Circles were great. So I'm kind of thinking of how do I do that, and that looks like it's mostly controlled by this vertex. And this one, to a lesser extent, but that moved a little bit more than I wanted it to, so let's try that again. So I'm going to be kind of carefully juggling those two right there to try to get the effect I want. It can be a little bit finicky. Sometimes I swear that these things just kind of move however they want sometimes. Okay, no, I'm lowering that side too much. Okay. Okay, so now this part is going a little bit too low. You can kind of see it sliding around if you look closely. So I'm gonna just very gently move some of these around. You can see here, just zoomed in 500% casually. I feel like that's just how it goes with rigging. You just gotta get in close to be able to do anything. Don't want to move that one too much either because that tip is already looking kind of okay, and I don't want it to start squirming on me. It's a little squirmy, but probably a little bit too much actually. Let's move it a little bit further this way. How does it look here? Yeah, maybe something like that. It's this way, it'll look like it's kind of... Nah. I was gonna say, so it looked like it was kind of moving further back, but nah, it doesn't actually look that good. So I'll bring it back out. Okay. Somehow it actually got brought really far in. So now I just kind of need to pull it back in this direction. At this point you caught me where I was kind of just doing a lot of final little adjustments here on this area. I'll probably be moving on to another area soon, and there will be bigger changes there, and I won't be zoomed in on a single clump of hair at 500% for forever. It's okay, let it be magic. It's quite fun. And if you ever decide you want to try it, I do have my separated art in the description of, well, every rigging video I've been making. I'm actually not sure how the description works for streams. I never actually checked. It's probably something I should know. But it is there, if you're ever curious. You want to try it out. But if not, I hope you can enjoy the process nonetheless. It's very detailed, it can be a little bit tedious sometimes, but man, once everything starts moving, it's like so magical of just... Well, this isn't my illustration, of course, this is official art, but especially when I do it with my own illustrations, it's like suddenly the whole picture has just come to life. And it's super cool. I like it lots. I'm just going in and trying to find the right thickness for this strand of hair here. This way it doesn't slide around all weirdly. I think that's probably about right. Let's zoom out and actually take a look here. Is there anything squirming in ways I don't like down there? Yes. But it's fairly minor. So I gotta go back in. This area right here just kind of looked like it was caving in a little bit. But let's see, did that fix it? Mostly, yes. So now the only thing that I see wrong is there's still shenanigan in that highlight. I decided not to separate the highlights for this one. I'm kind of glad I didn't, to be honest. This way I can just kind of move them around like this. Like, some people can do very cool things with separated highlights. But ooh, it sounds like a lot of extra work. So the way I'm talking about there is that if you look over on the left here, this is like all my layers. And right now I'm working on this one. The hair alone has like, what, like 30? And if I separated the highlights, that would probably be another 15 to 20, just right there. And it can get a bit unwieldy after a while. Because ultimately, computers aren't very smart. You have to tell them exactly what to do. And if you want everything to be able to move independently, you gotta put them on a separate layer. So your layer count bloats tremendously. If I remember correctly, there's something like 350 for the entire model here. Yes, my computer is quite good. I am very glad that it can handle all this. Spend enough time with the computer that I like to make sure that I have a good one. Okay. Now I think it's looking pretty good. Can start turning some of the other strands in this area back on, I think. Alright, where are they? Let's get them back on here. Let's do one at a time. They're a little further off than I thought they would be. So I'll do this one first. You can see here, this one's sliding majorly and looking a bit weird. So I just kind of need to start putting them into place. This one kind of connects over here. Not there. Sometimes it takes a couple tries to get it right. It is very normal for me to kind of overdo it. I try to be very gentle with how I move things, but alas, I do very frequently move them just a bit too much. That's a bit better. Now I just gotta make it a bit thicker. It got really skinny. Because when I first started rigging the hair here, one of the first things I did was make what's called a mesh group, which lets me move a bunch of layers all at once. And I use that to kind of get the initial perspective down so that, you know, this side would become skinnier than this side, and this side would become thicker. So it looks like the head is actually turning. And so some of the things on the right side got made quite skinny, and I've been having to correct that along the way. Now where'd it go? There it is. It still saves me a lot of work in the long run to use the initial mesh group, but it does mean that I have some things to fix later. Unfortunately, these little strands tend to be pretty quick. I don't know how this... Still a little bit warped through here, but let me see if it's all in the right place. One step at a time. Mostly, yes. I think it'll... Once I fix those warping problems, that should tell me that everything's in a good spot. Okay. So I think that got rid of most of the weird warping. Most of it. Still see a little problem right here. Let's squeeze this in just a little bit. Just a little bit of sliding there that I need to fix up. No, still looks like it's going upward a little bit. Let's push them down this way a little. These are just very small adjustments that all add up and make things look nicer in the end. Yeah, there we go. That's better. Okay, so now I can do the other one. This whole thing, like, needs to go to the left. Easy enough to do. Let's go. Time for the big brush. Trying to be careful with it, but it can be hard to be careful. Okay, that's pretty close. So now I can just make my finer adjustments here. I think I want this to go a little bit more this way, just to make it look like it's kind of curling back behind her a little bit more, since her head is turning. Okay. I like the effect on the curl at the end, but I do need to pull things out a little bit there. Okay. Because it got pulled a little bit too far. But it looks like it's mostly in the right place now. Just kind of need to fix things up right over here. Gentle, gentle, gentle adjustments. Is that all right? Not quite. It's the kind of thing that can be hard to describe because you develop an intuition for it after a while. And I can just kind of look at it and just be like, nah, it needs to be a little bit more this way. And then I see it and it's like, yes, that looks much better. So there, things just got a little bit distorted in a way that I didn't really like. And I think it still needs a bit of work in the end. Just pull everything this direction just a little bit more. A lot of the times I do this with the brush, but I don't think the brush can handle this job right now. Just kind of got to do it with my hands. Touch the vertices directly. See what happens. But I think that's what the problem was. Whoa! Okay, moved it a little bit too much. Wasn't expecting quite that dramatic of an effect. I pulled way down there. Okay. It should be a little bit better. Yeah, a little bit better. I think this part is just straighter than I'm giving it credit for. Keep wanting to curve it and make it round, because I like round things. Round things are fun and floofy. Circles are great. But this uses a lot more straights, so I need to keep those in there, or everything will just shift weirdly and not look super great. There we go. So I'm just thinking about how I get this strand a little bit straighter. I think it's going to be something like this. Yeah, something like that. Getting a little bit compressed, but I can adjust the thickness pretty easily. Just trying to get everything in the right spot first. But I think everything is roughly in the right spot now. Now I just need to make this a little bit thicker. Made it just a bit too skinny. Okay, now I'm just seeing a little bit of turning wrongly right at the top here. But everything else is looking pretty good. Yeah, there we go. Okay. And thus, I finally have the main strands all kind of in place. Okay, actually now that I look at it, I think I need to adjust right here, the shadow right there. Just a little bit. Let me take a look. What did I see here? Yeah, just moving a little bit inward. Inward? No. But it feels like this part right here is just collapsing a little bit. So I just need to push it up a little, I think. Something like that. I actually see a little bit wrong with this strand here. So let's take another look at this. They are small errors, but I do want to try to correct them. Because that kind of sliding will definitely affect the final product. Okay, I think that's pretty good. And I do think that's where I will end things today, so let's play with my eye parameters again. We'll do another winky face. Maybe with... Yeah, let's do the angry eyebrows again. I like the angry eyebrows. They look very mischievous. Okay. So yes, I think that's where I will end things for today, and tomorrow I can finally start turning on the rest of these little hair strands that I've been hiding the entire time. Just because they kept being very distracting. So, thank you all for coming. If you'd like me to take a look at your own creative projects, whether that be art, writing, coding, game design, any creative pursuit you can think of, feel free to message or at me on Twitter or Instagram and I'll take a look and maybe leave some comments. I'll see you all tomorrow. Goodbye.